Hello everybody, how is it going? I'm Lucas and welcome to another episode of Worst Guitar Pedals Ever. Today we are going to be looking at the ProCo Roadkill. The Roadkill is a very interesting pedal because it is a cheaper version of the Brat. And the Brat is kind of an offshoot of the original Rat distortion pedal. Now these were specifically made for Guitar Center. Let me let you look inside here, that little 8-bit Roadkill design we got going on right there. And you like a little splash of blood? I'm surprised they actually were allowed to put that. I'm surprised it didn't bring harm to the children back in the day. I say that because DoD had to redo their death metal pedal because it had blood on it and that was too scary for people. So here's the housing, and as you can see, the housing is very reminiscent of those 90 Ibanez pedals. Ibanez did a whole series of pedals in these housings. Some of the pedals were trash, some of the pedals were really good, but this housing is not known for its durability. This pedal is, I really doubt you can see that, it's made in China. It was specifically made for Guitar Center, and I guess they just kind of want to put it in Guitar Center and make it really cheap so that way kids could buy it if they're going and looking for a cool distortion pedal for their starter kits, I guess. So you have the in and the out, and you have the power up here. This is the worst place to put power. Jesus Christ, it's just very awkward because it's like all the way over here and you have so much like missing space over here. It would have been a lot better if they would have spaced this out and then stuck it, and then, I'm sorry, you can't even see that. They would have stuck it in the middle right here. That would have been a lot better, you know, like the Rev G3 for example. That's how the Rev is. I like power on the top. It's very awkward right here. For the battery compartment, it's actually right here, which is kind of nice. You don't have to like mess with anything. You don't have to mess with any knobs. You can take this out of the gig if you have to change the battery, though I would not use this live, ever. And then whenever we're gonna look at it, of course, always plug it in. Up top up here, they decided not to label what these actual knobs do. But luckily, I figured it out, because I'm big brain. So right here is, you're gonna have your volume. This is going to be your filter, and this is gonna be your actual distortion. Now, I really don't know why they couldn't have like printed up here or down here what these knobs actually did, because on the Brat and the Rat itself, and even on the Roadkill with the better housing of this, it's like in a metal housing. It has like splatter or something. It has like some like cool names for the actual controls, which is nice, but this, they're like, no, you don't need to know what the controls are, you just have to figure it out by yourself. Enough of me talking, let's plug up the Roadkill and see what it sounds like. Got everything all plugged up. Let's check out the clean sound we're working with. Alright, that is our clean sound. So let's kick on the Roadkill. Keep in mind, as I mentioned before, it's not labeled on the top. So this is going to be your volume. This is going to be the filter, and that is going to be the distortion. So let's kick it on. See what it sounds like. Alright, not too bad sounding. Let's mess with the controls a little bit. Let's do what I like to call chug and turn. It seems to keep things pretty even as you turn the volume up, which is pretty cool because some other pedals tend to kind of push mid a little bit whenever you turn it up. So it seems to stay pretty stable with the volume. That's pretty cool. Let's mess with the envelope. It seems about when it's about right there, that's when the high end kind of starts to kick in and doesn't get as dark as whenever you're turning it down. It does tend to get really fizzy when you when you crank it pretty high. Seems to be about a good midway point. Let's check out the distortion. It kind of sounds okay. Let's crank the distortion a little more. It kind of seems like to be the sweet spot for the distortion, because as you heard, when we push it all the way up, it tends to kind of, it opens up. It doesn't get too out of control. Right there sounds about right. I think these settings are probably the best I'm gonna get it to sound. Honestly, it doesn't sound all that horrible, but it I can't ever see myself using this type of distortion. I know a lot of other people, I'm sure could, but I don't know. It kind of almost is like a, I don't want to say a fuzz, but it is kind of in that realm. It's not like ultra tight distortion, because when I think of distortion, that's what I think of. I think of something that's ultra tight, something like a 5150 or something like that. Let's crank some knobs. Let's see if we can get it to sound cool. Interesting when you put the filter all the way down. Let's jack the filter all the way up, and let's crank it. Everything's wide open. Let me do some more interesting stuff. I'm gonna turn the filter all the way down, and I'm gonna turn the distortion all the way down. Let's try one more thing. Let's put the filter all the way up at noon, and let's put the distortion all the way up at noon. Let's see what that sounds like with the volume wide open. Makes it really raspy whenever you do that. So let's get some final thoughts on the ProCo Roadkill. Oops, I lied. We're gonna unwrap things up. I forgot to run this in the effects loop. So I got it hooked up in the effects loop. I got the volume a little bit past noon because it's a little bit lower when it's in the effects loop, but let's check it out. Kind of sounds a little bit better in the loop. Let's mess with the filter because it's a little dark. I find it sounds a tad bit better in the effects loop. It doesn't have that harshness that it had when it was in front of the amp. Let's crank everything. Why not? We're practically almost there. Let's crank everything and see what that sounds like. Okay, now we're gonna wrap things up and get some final thoughts on the ProCo Roadkill. Now that we have heard this glorious beast, what are my final thoughts on this Roadkill pedal? Well, like I've said before in the intro, I'm not a big fan of the housing. I'm not a big fan of the spacing up here. I like the battery department right here. I don't like that they didn't actually tell you what these knobs are. I mean, I know you can figure them out, but that's kind of beside the point. You know, what if you're at a gig and you want to adjust something real quick and you forgot what the knobs are? Because that'll happen when you like run around and doing stuff at a gig. Does this pedal deserve the moniker of worst pedal ever? I'm gonna say yes, and here is why. The Roadkill and the better housing, that one would kind of elevate it to an okay pedal just because of the housing. But this is one of the worst housings ever made, in my opinion, because it's just not that great. I do not trust this thing live. I'm sure if if it lives in your house and you play with it, maybe at a church gig every once in a while or something that's not, like that has repetitive road use, it might be okay. But besides that, I would not trust it. Sound wise, it's a little bit better than some of the DoD pedals that I've tested. It does get a little harsh, but it doesn't really get too out of control. It's not really super noisy whenever you turn it up. I got this off of Reverb, and it was a super high price, and the price finally dropped on it, and I really wanted to put it on this series, so I went ahead and I bought it. And no, there's nothing wrong with the pedal. It came in just fine. The housing did hold up from being way in the 90s, but I have a feeling this wasn't used all that much. But sound wise, it's kind of confusing to me because it's a distortion, but it isn't what I think of when I think of a distortion. Because when I think of distortion, I think of like a 5150, like a tight distortion. I know they have other distortions, that you could explore, and they have different type of sounds, but this thing just kind of like, it's like kind of grindy. It isn't grindy like an HM2. It's just kind of like there, and it doesn't really go anywhere. You can make it dark. The distortion kind of, kicks in when you move like right around there, you know, when you got about like there, it start to kick in. But I don't know, man. If I ever got this as one of my first pedals, I would probably absolutely hate it, and it would make playing guitar not so much pleasant if I had this pedal. But look, this is just my opinion. I know a lot of you guys out there probably have this pedal or have different variations of it and you like it, but let me know in the comments down below what you think about the ProCo Roadkill. And as for me, I'm gonna have to be out. Peace.